Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the FPL Addicts and Esports Live Fantasy Weekly Videocast and Podcast. We are live, so get your questions in, get your comments in, and we'll do our best to answer those as soon as possible. Before we start the podcast, though, we've got a Peely's Puzzler. So we've got 2 clues now and 2 clues midway through the podcast. And last week, Teddy Sheringham, which I know Matt and Jack got midway through the podcast last week, but here's the next one coming up now. I spent time in my playing career at Blackburn, Newcastle and Manchester United, among other clubs, and I scored in the 2002 Worthington or League Cup final against Tottenham during my time at Ewood Park. So those are the first 2 clues, and the next 2 will be coming midway through the podcast. But welcome back. As I said, we'll be previewing Game Week 23 and reviewing Game Week 22 in this podcast. So on the agenda, we've got the Sorry Saints get battered 9-0 for the second time in as many seasons by a rampant Manchester United. Not less this time, but still as painful. Son and Salah both blank as major midfielders misfire, and Sheffield United continue their quest for a great escape after winning once more. But alongside me, as always, my right-hand man. He's on the left on the StreamYard screen, but he's my right-hand man in the Esports Live commentary boxes, Elliot Craig. Elliot, how are you, mate?
I'm doing really well, thank you, mate. It's been quite an interesting week, as you say, with all the midfielders not really firing, the main ones, Salah and Son and whatnot. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm doing well, thank you, mate.
As we will. But yeah, there's a few midfielders did brilliantly and a few did quite poorly at the moment. But that was last game week, and we're going to review the results from game week 22. We'll do that just now, and it started with Sheffield United, as we've already mentioned. They won 2-1 at West Brom. Matt Phillips got the goal for the Baggies, but Sharp and Jayden Bogle got the goals for Sheffield United as they took 3 points once again. Not too dissimilar to when they played Newcastle at Bramall Lane, Elliot.
Less said on that, the better, mate. On to the next result, please.
Sure. It was Wolves who beat Arsenal by 2-1. Bert Leno got red carded, which did absolute wonders for your FPL team, Elliot. But Pepe scored the goal for Arsenal, and João Moutinho and Ruben Neves, the Portuguese midfield connection, on the score sheet for the Old Gold side. As Molineux would have been bouncing if they had fans in the stadium, but as it was, they still took 3 points. Massive result for Wolves this, and Arsenal season dented once more, Elliot.
Yeah, mate. Wolves haven't been on the best of form recently. I saw the form table recently, and they were actually second off bottom to us only. So they really needed that win there. They got a little bit of help from, obviously, you get 2 men sent off on the other team. You probably expect, don't matter who you play, and you should go and take 3 points. So they did that, and what a screamer from João Moutinho, mate.
And this next result is going to take a fair bit of reading out, and apologies if there are any Southampton fans either joining us live at the minute or rewatching this. But a brace to Martial and singles to Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford, Scott McTominay, Dan James, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and Edison Cavani, and an own goal to Jan Bednarek sealed a 9-0 rout at Old Trafford for Manchester United against Southampton. A second-minute red card for Alex Jankovic on his first Premier League start. And a red card also to Jan Bednarek, who got the low score in FPL history. It was -7, if I'm correct, Elliot. But I think someone triple captained it, so they had an absolute nightmare there. But Southampton 9-0, second time in 2 seasons.
Yes, it's not that good, is it? You never want to go and play a game and lose 9-0. At least this time is it away to the mighty Manchester United, not at home to Leicester. But it's never nice to lose 9-0, mate. But they have they appealed Bednarek's red card, and it's been overturned, so he's fit to play against us on the weekend. So I can't wait for them to turn us over 9-0, mate.
I mean, it's sometimes you can say when you go away to a big side like Manchester United and lose honourably, you can say, oh, we gave it a good go. And to be fair, they didn't hold themselves in a too bad a light considering the situations. Obviously they had 2 red cards, and they tried in the last little while, but it's still a horrible scoreline nonetheless, if we're being quite honest. So on to the next score, and it is Newcastle, who started so well after an absolute thunderbolt from John Joe Shelby, but Jaro Reedwell returned the favour, and Gary Cahill got the winner as Crystal Palace left the North East with all 3 points. Less said about that one, the better. I don't want to reopen any old wounds, Elliot, so I won't come to you on that one. One I will discuss Burnley. They're 90 million in debt now, which a lot of Blackburn fans are buzzing with, but they lost 2-0 at home to Manchester City. Raheem Sterling and Gabriel Jesus with the goals. Manchester City, title favourites, would you say, Elliot?
Honestly, mate, I think it's theirs to lose now. I think, in the past they've leaked goals at times, and they've always shown that they've been able to outscore teams, but their defense has been a little bit shaky ever since the big man Vincent Company left. But it looks like Diaz and Stones are holding down the fort, and I think it's theirs to lose now, mate. So I definitely agree with you. They're definitely my favourites to win the league this year.
We've had an incorrect guess for the Peely's Puzzler from Jack. He said Matt Jansen. So fair play for digging him out. Obviously, I know him pretty well as a Rovers fan, but obviously neutral fans may have forgotten Matt Jansen, unless you're of a certain age, but it's incorrect. He said he's read it wrong, so he's corrected his mistake. But yeah, Matt Jansen is incorrect, but fair play for guessing him and bringing him out of nowhere. But back to the results. Fulham 0, Leicester 2. Going just absolute cracked at the moment. He's doing a lot of teams well in FPL. And I'm guessing a lot of people are pretty buzzing with that at the moment. So big win for Leicester, who are absolutely flying at the moment in the Premier League. A good result for Everton as well if we move on. They went to Yorkshire against Leeds. Rafinha with a goal, who I think Matt will discuss later in one of his guru sections. But Sigurdsson and Calvert-Lewin got the goals for the Toffees as they left Yorkshire with all 3 points. Claret and Blue derby between Aston Villa and West Ham, another one in the Premier League. And I want to discuss this one because two absolute cult heroes for West Ham got on the score sheet. A double from forgotten Manchester United man, Jesse Lingard, which we're absolutely buzzing to see him with a smile on his face playing some football. And Thomas Soucek, one of the favourites on the podcast, he got himself a goal as well, as West Ham took all 3 points from Villa Park. Absolutely amazing, by the way.
Mate, gas to see Lingard doing what he does best again. Reminded me of the World Cup, mate, which when he scored against Panama, but the goals weren't quite as well. His goals weren't quite as good as that, but it's just nice to see him happy, smiling again with all his issues in his personal life and whatnot, and playing football, doing the thing he loves, which is beautiful to see, mate.
Jack now has got the Peely's Puzzle correct, by the way. We won't reveal that because that spoils all the fun, but he's got it right. With the guess that he's gone with there. And we'll just round off these final results. Liverpool losing at home once again. We've got Steven Alzate with the only goal there, the Colombian midfielder, bundling that one home as Liverpool lose again. Is their time to charge over with, Elliot?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. 7 points off the top now, aren't they? It's 37 or whatever to Man City. They're 7 points ahead of him now, so it's going to be difficult to come back from that, if I'm honest, without Van Dijk at the back. And they signed 2 new centre halves, Kabak and the lad from Preston. I've forgotten his name already. Ben Davies, wasn't it? That's the one. So I think it'll be interesting, but they're definitely not my favourites. They'll make top 4 and whatnot, but they're just not firing at the minute, which you can't afford to do. So I think City are definitely my favourites.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with you there. And the result from last night, local time, but this morning as we're recording this, Chelsea beating Tottenham 1-0. I needed Son to fire to stay in the FPL Cup. I'm now out of that as Jorginho got the only goal. Penalty after Timo Werner was fouled by Eric Dyer in the box as they took all points away at Tottenham First Stadium. Moving on to fixtures, we'll run through these ever so quickly. Aston Villa host Arsenal in the early kickoff. In the Midlands, Burnley host Brighton at 2 o'clock, same time. Newcastle will host Southampton. Latest game, we've got Fulham versus West Ham at Craven Cottage. And even later than that, Manchester United host Everton at 8 o'clock local time. Tottenham versus West Brom to get Sunday started, as Wolves will play Leicester at Molineux later on. At 4:30, the massive game between the 2 last champions of the Premier League, Manchester City, are away to Liverpool. Sheffield United will host Chelsea to round off Sunday. And Monday Night Football sees Leeds host Crystal Palace. So there are the results and fixtures. One last thing to do before we move on is go through your shocks of the week, Elliot. You've got 3. Who are they?
Yeah, thank you, mate. Game week 22 is now ended, and with it brought a lot of shocking FPL scores, as we've already mentioned. The highest score this week in the world was 147 points, and the average was a high 57. But here are my top 3 shocks of the week. Firstly, we have Man United defender Aaron Wan-Bissaka. The Red Devils man managed a goal, an assist, and a clean sheet, and took the bonus in their whopping 9-0 win over Southampton. Secondly, as you mentioned before, we have James Justin. The Foxes man managed a goal, clean sheet, and 3 bonus points in their 2-0 triumph over Fulham. And, he's kind of turning into a little bit of a cult hero this season in the defence, Ollie, don't you reckon?
I would say so. I mean, he's a bit of a cult hero on Leicester's TikTok account as well, but, he's a decent player. He's a player who likes to get forward. He keeps clean sheets. Leicester are quite sturdy. And when they don't, he usually contributes with a goal or an assist. So, possibly a must-have asset and one that I'll be looking to bring in pretty soon, I reckon, Elliot.
Yeah, can't argue with that one, mate. He's been on my radar for a little bit with their good run of fixtures coming up. But him and Harvey Barnes, they've been a bit of the light for Leicester this season, I guess you could say. So we'll move on to the third now. And last week I was mentioning Azpilicueta and Alonso and how it felt like 17-18 again. And as we've already mentioned with the West Ham result, we've gone with Jesse Lingard, mate, who scored twice and took the 3 bonus, giving him 15 points as they've named him now Messi Lingard, which gave him 15 points for his managers in game week 22. And that is my top 3 shocks of the week.
Messi Lingard, by the way, what a brilliant shout from West Ham fans. It's brilliant to see a smile on his face. And he played well, took his goal well, got an assist as well. So it was absolute dynamite in that West Ham midfield. So hopefully that continues for the rest of the season. Something else we're hoping continues for the rest of the season is some good FPL form and good FPL discussions from the 2 lads on the podcast joining us this evening once again. To start with, we'll start with someone who's doing a little bit better than the other one in FPL circles anyway. We've got the guru himself. It's Matt from FPL Addicts. How are you, mate?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Ollie. Well, fantasy league-wise, anyway, we won't talk about the Spurs game. If we're talking fantasy league, I'm well. But, yeah, Tottenham, not so great. So, yeah, miserable result this morning.
Yeah, it definitely was. They looked devoid of anything going forward. One team who definitely didn't look devoid of anything going forward, Manchester United. Their biggest supporters is Jack Gillibrand from Esports Live. You must have been buzzing with that result, mate. That 9-0. Absolutely amazing.
I'm surprised I made it onto the pod tonight, lads, because I'm still on cloud 9 after that one.
There we go.
Very happy though. What a win! Obviously, I don't think anyone saw that coming, and it showed when you go into that second half, take no prisoners, and the slaughter continued, which was poor for Ralph, but great for us. So puts the pressure onto everyone else, keeps us up there at the top.
You'll be hoping so. You'll be looking for that title charge to continue. Probably not something that happened in your FPL world, but if it happens in the football, I suppose you won't really care too much at all. We'll get on to the game week review then. Let's waste no time. And we've got to go through all of our teams. So we'll get Elliot to lead this one. He's on the share screen for the moment. And who are we starting off with, mate?
We'll start with me, mate, just to get it out of the way, I think. It wasn't a bad week, as you could see there. 62 points this game week. Starting off with Leno, not happy. Don't know what he was doing there, but the Man City boys keeping clean sheets. It's what they do this season. That's what they're made for. Tough game against Liverpool this weekend, but you never know. I'm hoping for it. But then they've got the double game week after that, so they should be all right. Kufal and Dallas not really contributing much. I know that Aston Villa goal killed you a fair bit, Ollie, so it didn't really help me either. But then Maddison, Fernandes did the business for me in the midfield. Son just didn't look in it this morning without his man Harry Kane. He doesn't really look to be firing anytime soon. Salah, poor captain choice, unfortunately. I fancied him with the home game against Brighton, but don't really like the Liverpool assets at the minute. And then Calvert-Lewin with the goal, Bamford with the assist, gave me 62 points this game week, mate. And then, that's just what happens, and we move on to next week.
Yeah, FPL is so volatile at the minute, isn't it? Because you just never know. The league is in general, because we're looking at the Burnley result as much as that pained me. The Brighton result against Liverpool. Some other shocking results that have come in. Even the 9-0. I suppose anything can happen in this league this season, and FPL's just proving that.
100%, mate. You are not wrong by any means of the imagination there. It's been a very weird season. You're not wrong there. But we'll move on to Matt's team now. Who again? He's had a very good week. You can't complain with that, Matt, at all, can you?
Yeah, I can't complain. I have to say, I thought it was quite unexpected. I was kind of thinking I'd maybe hit around the 70 mark. So, yeah, to come up with 84 points, especially with another poor captain pick, I just can't seem to get it right now. That's 3 on the bounce. But I think the majority were captaining Salah. So, but really happy. James Justin's obviously a standout. Antonio and Soucek, really, really good, along with Fernandes. And my man Gundogan with 8 points, really happy with that. Couple of bonus. It was a bit of a shame because I captained him in the previous game week. He doesn't do anything, and then comes out with 8 points this week when he wasn't my captain. And then my transfer was Callum Wilson. Got me an assist, so it's a return. So 84 points above the average, and decent game week, so I can't complain.
Not wrong there at all, Matt. And now, I know you've been waiting for this one, Ollie. You've been wanting to tell us about how you went in the cup and everything, and you already told us before, but what went wrong for you this week, mate? Again, not a bad score, but it just wasn't enough to creep you over that line to get you into the 7th round of the cup now, is it?
Yeah, it would have been the 7th round, which is the 6th is as far as I've ever made it. So it's a bit of a Chorley type cup run, this one. I'm quite happy with the way it's gone. Usually I'm out in the 1st round or 2nd round, but I think the 3rd or 4th was the furthest I've ever made it. So really good cup run, but it was just the captain pick. We've just said Salah was a shocking captain pick. I thought, like everyone else, that he would do something against Brighton, and obviously no one expected the 9-0 from Man United. So I just thought that Salah would keep on his decent form from the West Ham game, and it just didn't work out for me. So yeah, it's a frustrating one to lose. If I had a captain Bruno, I would have gone through, but it's all hindsight now. I can't go back and change it. But a decent score. I'm happy with just this game week. The Manchester City Liverpool clash is going to really, really wreck me. But yeah, it's a bit torrid at the moment, but I'll take the score and move on.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, mate. As I said to you before, it was very unlucky with the Aston Villa goal, which sort of killed your game week a little bit, didn't it? But we'll move on to Jack now, who got 77 points this week, which again, we've all hit above the average this week, lads, and we've got some decent scores here. So Jack, what went well for you this week?
Yeah, I think a couple of things went well. I brought Cavani in not long ago, so he hit in there. I think he could have got a hat trick if he'd stayed on, but he obviously took a knock. Brought was it Trevor Alexander-Arnold? That was a downside, obviously, with him and Salah not hitting. Captain Salah this week as well. Instead of doing Fernandes, can't get that right either. I think obviously everyone was suffering with that, as we mentioned. But James Justin obviously smashing it, Fernandes smashing it, Calvert-Lewin getting the goal finally. But I did leave Souček on the bench, so maybe obviously we should have that holding defeat for
there
Arsenal. If I changed that, but I shouldn't have dropped him. It's disappointing. First time I think I've dropped in the season and not performed. So Not a bad week though. Listen, happy to have hit again, way above the average. So it's just kept me in that mix. But I think everyone was kind of hitting those 60s and 70s in our league, because obviously we know our league is so tough and very unforgiving.
Definitely so, and thanks Elliot for the share screen. I believe that if I'd done the share screen this week, my internet would have just crashed and gone out. But top work from Elliot there to lead that part of the podcast. I just wanted to go back to transfers because it wasn't something we've discussed. I think the man I'm getting rid of this week is a bit of a bombshell. It's Mohamed Salah. I want to protect my Manchester City defenders, and I think that's probably the best way to do it. I don't know who to go to, but I'll be getting rid of Mohamed Salah this week. I don't know how long for. It's a bit of a rash transfer, but I think it's got to be done. I've got 2 free transfers, but I'm going to get rid of Mohamed Salah. It might come back to bite me. I don't know. I was looking through when Elliot was just finishing off the section there, but it'll go right to the deadline. Obviously, Jack Grealish is probably the midfielder that I don't have that's been on the best form this season, but is he someone I really want to go to? I'm not sure. Matt's saying good move. The bringing him back is the problem. I mean, I'll have a lot of money depending on who I go to. I've got 1 million spare in the bank before the transfer's made, so I should be fine. I just need to make sure it's the right player I pick. But Matt, over to you. What are you doing in terms of transfers this week?
Yeah, look, Ollie, that's an interesting one. A little bit of me also wants to do similar with Salah. Grealish is someone I've had my eyes on for a while. It seems to just be an assist machine, but I just don't know if I've got it in me to get rid of Salah. Not so much for the fact that it's against City. It's just more for the fact that they've got a nice run. I think the week after, next couple of weeks after, they've got a good run. I think Sheffield United and coming up over the next coming weeks. I just think bringing him back without having a wild card could be tough. So, if I've got the guts, I might do a similar sort of move. I was also looking at maybe a Rafinha for Salah and that type of thing, and then using the money to bring Kane back in. Even though I've got a bit of money in the bank, but look, if I don't transfer, I'm going to use the famous words of Elliot Craig, and I think I might be rolling over.
In fact, I'll tell you what my plan is. My plan is to go to your favourite, or one of your favourites on the podcast. I think it's Jack's. Or, he's been good all season. It might be to go to Thomas Souček this week. Reason why is to get either Keenan Davis or Bruce up to Harry Kane, because I'd have 8 million in the bank, which is a transfer I've never made before, having that much money unused. But I think getting Harry Kane back in is also a massive priority, and then bringing Salah back in will be a problem. But that might be something I do. Jack, will you be going anything as outlandish as that, or will it be more reserved from you this week?
I don't really like the reserved kind of one. I always like to get a bit of activity going in the transfer market. So, I haven't used my wild card yet, so I've been slowly, making additions each week. I've taken a hit probably every week for the last 3 weeks, I think. But I've done. I'm not a fan of Calvert-Lewin now anymore. He was massive for me at the start of the season.
He's just scored.
No, listen. Hear me out.
Double game week next week.
Listen, I loved him. He got me, obviously, all the points. He got a lot of points start to middle of the season kind of thing. And then obviously we dropped him, brought him back in for the last week. He got the goal. He's done a job. Now he's back out. And I've brought Antonio in. So Antonio is in. Calvert-Lewin's out. And then I also, with the City assets, I know this is kind of thrown me with I already made my transfer, but I took out Gundogan as well. Even though I took out Gundogan. It's okay, lads. Took out Gundogan and brought in Crystal Palace Eze.
I can respect that.
Also pronounced easy, because it's going to be easy for him.
Eberechi Eze is a good player, and he absolutely tore it apart for QPR last season in the Championship, who coincidentally is who we're playing at the weekend. So glad he's not there, because that should hopefully make it easy for Rovers to grab 3 points that they don't have a player like him there now. But what are you doing? What are you doing?
I like it. It's a ballsy move. If it pays off.
You can't have the same team as everyone else, all right? So you've got to find these differentials. And Crystal Palace have got a good couple of fixtures coming up. And I'm telling you, you'll like it or not, he's going to hit. Come on, Eze.
If he does, I'm like an idiot. But there you go. I don't agree with the transfers. I think they're awful. But there's going to be egg on my face if they pay off, which they may well do. But Elliot, what about you? Are you going to make any interesting transfers, or are you keeping it simple?
Yeah, mate, I've got to make 2 because I don't like stacking up my transfers. I've got my 2 free transfers this week, and I'm not sure what to do. I don't think I'm going to get rid of Salah like you are saying you're going to do. I don't know. He doesn't have a bad record against Man City, so it's going to be an interesting one. But I think the defence is where I need to upgrade a little bit. Kufal and Dallas, they're not keeping too many clean sheets recently. I know they're both obviously attacking threats, so I might get a 5th defender in that can do the business, like James Justin, who's not too expensive, that I can just rotate in and out every week. Because the defence, like this week, if I'd had Justin instead of Dallas or Kufal, it would have really taken my score up to another level. But then again, there's people like Souček in the midfield and whatnot, so I'm really not too sure what I'm going to do. As you said, it's going to go right down to the wire for me as well. So as they say, you just have to see next week, I think.
Yeah, mine might be similar. I don't know if I'm actually going to get rid of Salah, but we'll have to see. What's the biggest shock? The questions come up on the screen. If people want to put their comments, Salah for Souček or Gundogan for Easy. Now that I mentioned Gundogan for Easy, now I'm chastising it. Maybe my outlandish move of Salah to Souček maybe seems a little bit in that same regard. But you know what? I don't even care. This is live. Can you bring up? Can I? I can't share screen now, but I will make that transfer. I'll make it. I'll do it.
You're doing it live.
You know what?
Doing it live.
I'm going to do it. Salah to Souček, and I'm bringing Harry Kane. And if it doesn't work, then I can just blame peer pressure. Then Ron is okay. In fact, they're horrible. I've just said I'm going to do it. I can't back down now. I mean, their run's all right. Their run is okay. Other than Manchester City, their run is all right. So it's done then. It's done.
You've done it.
It's done.
Slap the triple captain on him.
Yeah.
I won't do that. No way. But it's done. Salah to Souček is done. And if I don't know if I can put a screenshot at the end of the podcast to prove that I've done it, but I've done it. Bombshell. Let's move on. One person who didn't have to make any outlandish transfers was our manager of the week. That was DS Team. 96 points, Captain Bruno Fernandes. I know a few people in the league did, but he's 11th in the league table now thanks to that, and he's going to get a $10 Esports Live credit. He can play for cash pool and prizes, Rocket League, FIFA, PES, and NBA. If you think you can hack it and join him there, get yourself registered because there's a lot of fun going on in that sector. So now on to Peely's Puzzle Part 2. And we know Jack's already got it right. But for those who haven't quite got it, the second lot scored once in 15 appearances for England, which I thought he scored a lot more for his country. But he didn't quite. And he scored 5 last time Manchester United won a Premier League game 9-0 before the Southampton game. So he absolutely got a handful that day, did this player. But there are the clues. Let's see if you can get it right. One person who has got a lot of things right in FPL is the guru, Matt. So he's got his guru section. He's going to be through his form players, his one to watch, his scout 11, amongst many other things. So Matt, fire away.
Thanks, Ollie. Yeah, look, we'll start with the form players, and one of them you're very familiar with, Ollie, and that's Sanchez, who's been in net for Brighton. Looks like obviously Matt Ryan's left Brighton, and Sanchez has taken over that number 1 spot over the last few months, and he's got 4 returns in a row. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Really, really in form. And I think Brighton have got a nice little run of games. So, if you need a goalkeeper, he's very, very cheap. I think he's still around that 4.4. I'm not sure if he's gone up in the price rises overnight. Really, really cheap option.
He's 4.4 now.
Is he still 4.4?
Yeah.
Oh, so he's just a brilliant goalkeeper to have in. Then, if you want to save that money, or even as a number 2 goalie, as a rotation option, similar to what Ollie's got on his side. Another one of my form players is a guy I really, really rate, Rafinha from Leeds. Actually had him in my own team about 4 or 5 game weeks ago, and since then he's actually been the one of the highest points per game midfielders in FPL. Lucky I did actually get Gundogan in replacement, otherwise I'd be kicking myself. But he's had 27 points in 3 weeks. Really, really good player, and definitely been a form midfielder for Leeds. And in terms of the differentials this week, Jack will be very, very happy to hear this. And Eze from Crystal Palace is on the list. Leeds away. He was really, really good in the Newcastle game the other night. I thought Eze, when I saw him, he impresses me every time I watch him. 1.1% ownership, 5.8 million, and his form's reasonably good. I think he got an assist against the Toon. He had an 11-point game week not so long ago, so definitely one to watch. And Palace have got a good run of fixtures. They've got a bit of green coming up. So yeah, not a bad one. He's a bit of a enabler in there where, because he's so cheap, it will give you the money to bring someone else in. Another one, we've mentioned him already. One of the shocks of the week, it's Lingard, Fulham away, 1% ownership, so really, really low. I do expect that to rise, but 6 million, not a bad difference in there. Say you like Ollie and you want to take up Salah for the week. It's not one to it's one to definitely think about. Coming off a double against Villa. Another one who I've been impressed with lately is Rudiger from Chelsea. Sheffield United away. He's on 3 clean sheets in a row. Newcastle at home the week after. He's about 4.5 million. Looks like he's now down that spot at the back for Chelsea. Not quite sure what's happened to Zuma, but yeah, Rudiger will definitely keep that spot with Thiago Silva getting the injury this morning as well. So another one as well, differential. Hudson-Odoi, 0.8% ownership. He's been looking really sharp. He didn't return this morning against Tottenham, but he did look sharp. He looks like he's now down that place. Good fixture at Sheffield United. So a couple of Chelsea options there with Rudiger 1.7% and Hudson-Odoi at 0.8%. And now my last differential, Luke Shaw, really, really flying this season for United on that left-hand side. 2 assists in the week against Southampton, and he only played 45 minutes as well, so he's well rested. 4.6% owned, so really, really low. I think he's pushed Tellers aside as well. I think Jack, you'd know more watching more United games than me, but I think Tellers joining United has pushed probably Shaw to up his performances. And he looks like he's getting forward quite a lot for you guys on the left, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's looking really good, Luke Shaw. He's now, they're saying he's the best left back in the country again, or not again, but he's up there now. Obviously, with Chilwell being benched and quiet, he's looking great. He's shed the pounds. He looks hungry. He looks like the player we bought, that we wanted to get 7 years ago. His potential is finally, it's coming to fruition. But yeah, he's been looking really sharp, hasn't he? And he's looking that good. They brought him off at half time.
It was to save him. I think as well, he could have, if he'd come on that half, he'd be someone we'd be talking about, like Wan-Bissaka, who's obviously got 17 points in the week. He was close to getting on the differentials this week, but I won't be sure because of the 4.6%. And I think if Shaw had got the 90 minutes, he would have come out with about 17 points, 15, 16 points as well. Could have even got another assist. So definitely one to keep on your radar. Home to Everton this weekend, and United have got a bit of green after that on their fixtures. So moving on to the 3 teams, and definitely not going to be putting one that's would have had my own team, Spurs, on there with a home game against West Brom. They would have been on there, but recent performances, lack of attacking prowess, really, really poor at the moment. I couldn't even put my own Spurs side on there against a bottom 3 side, which is a bit of a shame. And I've had to go with a couple of our London rivals this week. West Ham away to Fulham. Good fixture for West Ham. Fulham had a couple of poor results lately, and they're on fire. Second one, Chelsea away to Sheffield United. They've got that manager boost, that new manager spring, and Sheffield United have picked up lately, but I'd back Chelsea to sort of go there, maybe win by a couple of goals to nil. And the team that I've put on ahead of my own side, Spurs, which is quite unbelievable, is Newcastle. And the reason being, I couldn't do Spurs. We barely had a shot on goal this game. We didn't. We had maybe one against Brighton. Newcastle, I watched them against Everton last week. I thought, they were really attacking. And then I watched bits of their game against Palace and actually thought they played really, really well. Very open and expansive play. Saints are coming off a 9-0 thrashing. 2 red cards. A bit of disarray there. Look, they might have their tails up a bit, but I think Newcastle, they've got a bit more about them now with Fraser, St. Maximin, Callum Wilson. I think there's Almiron as well. And yeah, on a normal week, it would probably be my team Spurs against West Brom. But yeah, this week, guys, it's going to have to be Newcastle to Saints, especially off that 9-0 thrashing. So yeah, obviously, I'd like to know your thoughts on that. Obviously, Elliot as well. You big avid Newcastle fan. So
I'm very surprised, to say the least. I think, as you say, you'd say there's probably not a better time to play them than when they've just been beaten 9-0. But we are renowned for giving teams a good bit of form. I think Leicester, when we played them, they hadn't won in 4. Leeds, when we played them, hadn't won in 3. Sheffield United obviously hadn't won all season until they played us. But I like the optimism from you there, Matt. So I'm gonna back it, and I'm gonna say, come on the Toon.
Yeah, I think it could be a bit of the the kind of like the Ollie syndrome, where he watches a lot of Newcastle. I've kind of seen a lot more of Newcastle now. I've been on the pod with you, and but I just think coming off a 9-0 win, Saints, it's happened twice now in the last couple of years. I just find it I think if it wasn't for the performance by Spurs this morning, then they would have been on there. But yeah, I think Saints will find it tough coming off the back of a thumping so much and a couple of red cards in there. So but moving on to the captains, not so many shocks in here. Starting with Fernandez, home game to Everton. Tough game, but you've always got to back him at home. And another one, Antonio, away to Fulham. He's on fire lately, isn't he, Antonio? So obvious choice. I'm also going to put Souček in there. So not a bad captain shout. Scored again in the week. Just seems to be on fire as well, those West Ham assets. Although I've just said about Spurs' lack of attacking returns, I'm still going to put Son on there as a captain choice. Although he's just not getting in any positions. His form's poor. He'd normally be at the top of the list with a West Brom fixture, but Yeah, not so sure, but I've just got to put him on. I've got to put him on. And another one, he's in my side as well, is my FPL side. It's Callum Wilson. I just said Saints coming off a 9-0. I feel like Wilson's due a home goal, and I think he's not a bad captain shout. So we'll move on to the curveball. It's going to be back to FPL of a couple of years ago, and I'm going to put Marcus Alonso down as my curveball. Attacking threat, he was getting forward a lot today for Chelsea. Obviously got a really, really good goal last week against Burnley as well. Looks like he's in favour ahead of Chilwell, which I didn't think would happen. But away to Sheffield United, I've got a good feeling about Alonso this week from an FPL point of view. So curveball option if you're feeling lucky. So that wraps up my my captain section.
Definitely. So I was just looking while you were going on there, Matt, about when Leicester last lost 9-0, which was obviously against Leicester. After that, in the Premier League, they hadn't won in 3 after that 9-0. So, Elliot, you're not quite Manchester City. They're excellently lost 2-1, but maybe that's a bit of optimism for you and for yourself, Matt, as well. But onto your captain picks, you got to. Oh, sorry, onto your Scout 11. Rather, you've just gone through your captain picks. But Scout 11, is there any Newcastle players in there? I just want to. There won't be any Southampton players in there, but is there?
There is a Newcastle player in there. It's Callum Wilson. Just something about Bruce. That's Bruce Ball lately. He's been a bit more attacking, and Wilson.
It's Graham Jones Ball.
Yeah, well, Wilson's getting in the positions again, and I think we saw at the start of the season when Newcastle were playing a bit more attacking at times. He was getting some pretty big scores, and I got a good feeling about him. I've partnered with Antonio. Speaks for itself, Antonio, with his recent form. And then in midfield, put the armband on Fernandes. I've got Mason Mount in there. Might surprise a few people, but he was brilliant this morning for Chelsea.
Good, yeah.
Really, really good. He was very close to getting a goal in that second half. Grealish, he's got to be in there. Just brilliant every week. Every time I watch him, he's involved. If it's not an assist, it's a goal. It's an assist, and just brilliant player. Definitely a good fixture for him. Arsenal, a couple of red cards to their name as well. And I believe that Matt Ryan's not fit as their number 2, and I think the guy they got in goal at the moment is quite shaky, isn't he? Their number 2, is it Gunnarsson or Runarsson? Runarsson, yeah. So I think Grealish could, Villa, if they're on their game, there could be a couple of goals for them there. Another one, a fantasy player I love, Rafinha, starting to come into a bit of form. I've put Son in there. Again, it's probably a bit of the Spurs bias, but it's hard not to put him in a Spurs player with a West Brom fixture as bad as we have been. But I don't know if I can count on him at the moment. And Rafinha, the new Gundogan, is what Ollie's put in our chat, and he's probably not wrong. And then going
you've liked Rafinha all season, haven't you, though, Matt? You've had him in your team a little bit as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I've had him in my classic. He didn't start too well, but I did get a couple of good scores out of him, and then I did replace him with Gundogan, and Gundogan's come back with some good points. I've had him in my draft as well, Rafinha. Good player. Got another Leeds guy in defence this week, Dallas, who you mentioned earlier, Elliot. I think he's still playing quite advanced against Palace home. Not a bad shout, I don't think. And then Rudiger in defence. Cresswell, brilliant this season in Fantasy League. Lots of assists. He's got goals. Seems to be getting points most weeks. And then Sanchez in goal. Brighton 4 clean sheets on the bounce. I feel like that game's got 0-0 or 1-0 either way written all over it. So yeah, there we go. 3-5-2, and that's within the 100 million budget as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously, there's a few players there that have been on great form. Mikel Antonio was decent the other night for West Ham. You think Rafinha, he's the new Gundogan, but there you go. A few interesting ones though is that one definitely that's jumping off the page. I know they've got a really easy fixture on paper, being Sheffield United away, but Frank Lampard's favourite player is old boy Mason Mount. What have you seen in him that's made you go with him?
Yeah, look, it was a tough one with, obviously there's Liverpool City this weekend, and I was thinking, who can I put? Do I put maybe a City defender in there? I've got a feeling that could be a 0-0. a 0-0 draw. So do I put a City player in the defence and put a fourth man, or do I find a fifth midfielder? And Mount, I just think caught my eye this morning. He was just getting forward. He was just so close to making it 2-0 in that second half. And it was kind of down to a City asset as a fourth defender or Mason Mount. And Sheffield United, I think I'd expect Chelsea to go there and win by a couple of goals. And just something about him the last couple of games. He just sprung to life again. And differential. I think, like Jack was saying earlier, if you can find those differentials at the moment, then they're really valuable. And I got a bit of a feeling about Mason Mount. So
there you go. Then there's your Scout 11, and there is the Guru section done. But just before we move on from Classic, before we move on to Draft, and we disregard Classic of the week, got a bit of evidence that I've sent across to Elliot that I'm hoping he's putting on the share screen of my move from Salah to Souček. If you just thought I was being a lunatic and just lying to you. So, Elliot, if you can maybe bring that up just before you bring up the draft screen, just to see that I have in fact done it, which is quite insane to have to say that, to be honest, that I've gone from Salah to Souček, but you can see him there, centre mid. There is Thomas Souček, and I'm not lying to you.
He's telling the truth. He's done it. He's actually done it. You crazy, crazy man, Ollie. I hope it pays off for you. But I think if you said that to me at the start of the season, you'd be going from Salah to Souček, would have called you crazy.
Well, Souček's in good form, so I'll take it. I should have taken the advice a while ago, but Jack, we're now chief members of the Thomas Souček fan club, so hopefully it goes well. Matt's just saying in our private chat we've got him. Since he have Anfield since 2003.
Wow.
Not even when they won the league, not even when they got to 100 points. They didn't win there. I think that was 0-0. I think that was when Riyad Mahrez missed the penalty, I believe.
Sent it to the moon.
So 2003 was the last time Manchester City won at Anfield. So will that be a stat that changes by the end of the week? Now on to draft.
You know what? Elliot. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. That stat could be wrong. My friend just messaged me that stat, but I do remember around 2008, 9 times Sean Wright Phillips might have scored a winner there. So. You know what? That could be fake news. So sorry, everyone. My mate's having me on there.
No fake news on here.
Statman Dave will know.
Yeah.
I'll check for you. Just while Elliot's bringing up draft, just we've got a bit of filler. I'll try and make sure if that is correct or not.
Oh, I think I've just verified it, lads.
15 years ago.
2003?
Yeah, 15 years ago. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, it is right.
They probably won in the cup, maybe. That's probably where they may have won.
15 years ago takes you back to 2006, but I mean, I suppose so. 2003, the 3rd of May 2003 was the last time I can see they won at Anfield. Yeah, it's correct. I'm on 11v11. It's correct.
Wow,
it's interesting because I think that's with the Scout 11. I avoided a lot of I avoided that game, and I do think if you've got your City defenders. There's a lot of people debating whether to put them on the bench or transfer them out, but I think just stick with them. I can really see that game being a 0-0 draw, or maybe even City finally getting the win there.
There you go. Definitely an interesting stat that we've brought up there as we move on the draft. Then, just to go that day, it wasn't Sean Wright Phillips. It was Nicolas Anelka with the winner. He scored a penalty and a 90th-minute winner after Milan Baros opened the scoring for Liverpool that day. So there's that stat sorted. But on to draft we move. Elliot, do you want to run through this one?
Yeah, sure can do, mate. So the big game of the week, the heavy hitter, the blockbuster, Jack Gillibrand managed to come away beating Matt Day 60 to 55 points, which I know he's absolutely thrilled about. Then a bit of a boring family clash there, Ollie. A little bit of a boring game. 37 to 19, you beat your dad. You know, he's probably not too happy about that. Probably doesn't really care anymore these days, though.
Neither of us have checked it.
Oh, you've given up now, have you? Since you won the league in November, you gave up.
I've said that before, and I will say it again.
You're back in it now, Ollie?
All of a sudden, yeah. A few results changes things, and one for the title charge. Second half of the season, we're doing a title charge.
Someone who is in the middle of a title charge as well, surprisingly, is David. After his shaky start, he manages another 3 points against James Gaston.
Who's David?
Statman Dave, sorry. Apologies. Statman Dave. Statman. He's working his way up the league. We'll show you where he is in a minute. And then I beat Rolando. bit helpless at the minute, Rolando. But we'll see what that does to the table. As you can see, Statman Dave up to second. Matt drops to third. Ollie remains in fourth. I leapfrog James to go fifth. James drops to sixth. And then the Basement Boys, Peely and Rolando, sit down bottom. In next game week, though, however, we've got Papa Peely against Jack Gillibrand, which will be...
I'm checking it this week. I'm checking draft this week.
You'd probably think that Jack would come away with 3 points there. Probably not the game of the week. James Gaston against Matt Day, another friendly clash there.
Rivalry,
yeah, and then me and Ollie, another rivalry there, and then Dave and Rolando.
Another rivalry.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a rivalry there. So it's a few derbies this week, I guess. Then, lads, what would we say is game of the week?
I'm
I
not
think
sure.
Elliot, Ollie.
Would you say so?
Always,
Yeah, because Ollie, you're
Alright.
fourth, and Elliot's moved into fifth. Is that right? So
Yeah,
Must be. Yeah. All right. So we'll take a look at your team, Ollie. Obviously, you say you haven't checked it in a while. You got 37 points this week. You've got Bednarek. That's why. Oh no!
Oh no! I didn't even realise. No. Doesn't matter.
Oh my
Win,
goodness.
All right. I had
Oh,
Wan-Bissaka though. I had Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah.
That's fair.
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Level
Wow.
down. Look at that.
You
Look at that
had
bench.
Why couldn't I play this team this week? I had to play the
Yeah.
Jack Killers.
Oh, and then your
Yeah,
automatic
that's-
subs. Oh, so Bednarek got auto subbed on for
That's
Ziyech.
brilliant.
Okay.
Wow.
That was just painful.
That's
Surely could have taken the zero. Surely.
To the listeners out there, I'll stop being fickle. I'll start checking draft now. I have stopped. I need to because it's unprofessional for me. I've been caring about Classic too much. My FPL Cup runs over. I'll start checking draft again. And yeah, like I say, we're on for the title charge. But onto the analysis of my team. I've still got Kieran Clark, so I'm going to have to go to the transaction table. I'm going to have to get rid of Jan Bednarek, minus 7 points himself. The worst FPL score of all time, and I'm on the end of it in draft. But other than that, I mean, you take Aaron Wan-Bissaka, it's still decent. If you take the 7 points off him, possibly it's 10 points, which is still not a bad return from a defender anyway. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka was brilliant, so I'll take his 17 points. Dominic Calvert-Lewin 9 points. Ollie Watkins up top, who ruined my my FPL Cup run. He got a goal for me. Do I think I have enough in the bank? If I make the right transactions, yes. I'm going to make sure in this game. I will not let you live it down.
He does not want me to be winning that game. So now we'll go on to my team this week. Obviously, outscored Ollie by a few points. De Gea and net
16 points.
didn't look like he was going to concede at all. As Jack called him before, Trevor Alexander-Arnold with the 2 points. Reece James got auto subbed on for me for Carl Walker. Cancelo, Sterling, Maddison hit, Bamford, Wilson. So I think it's going to be a close one this week, to be honest, Ollie, mate. I think, as you know, you're saying you're going to try and make some transactions. I might have to try and nick a few out from underneath you because I'm still below you in the league. So if I can do that, then hopefully I can see my way to 3 points. But we'll head over to Jack now. Who do you think's going to win this one, Jack?
I've only just realised they call him Trevor.
Yeah.
As if he didn't hammer me. Why did no one hammer me for that?
I thought it was an inside joke or something.
Yeah, I thought so.
No, gold. Call him Trevor from now on. That's amazing.
No, we've got that adds him to the list of Noon Belly, Gundogan. There's a fair list of names that we've got now, so that's going into the Hall of Fame. We need to clip that and send that on the Instagram.
Trevor
amazing.
Alexander-Arnold.
Go on, big Trevor.
Is Trevor going to guide me to victory?
Come on, Trevor. What was the question?
Is it going to
Who's
be
gonna win the
Ollie or is
game?
it going to be me?
I'm going to go Elliot Craig, of course, with Ollie because he hasn't been.
What?
What
did I do to
he
you, Jack?
says he's not been paying attention to that. He's not got enough commitment to draft, and all of a sudden he's playing his best mate, and all of a sudden he steps up again. So let's give him a kick up the behind, and let's go Elliot and see if Ollie can step up and make a challenge on this competition. He's only 6 points behind.
Do not mind that at all. Now, Matt, what are you saying?
It's going to have to be you, Elliot. I'd like to say Ollie, but he's just not. If he's not looked at his team the last few weeks, it's a little bit behind, I think, looking at his lineup compared to yours. You've got a pretty good front three. And again, the Maddison in there as well. So fine margins in draft. I'll have to back you purely because yeah, Ollie looks to have given up in prior weeks.
You lot are all
Ollie.
interested. You lot will see. You lot will see.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
gonna
think it's
win.
going to be as easy as they're making out for it to be. I think, if Liverpool turn City over, which they very well could do at home, then I'll probably struggle because I've obviously got 4 Man City assets, as you can see there. So I think it's going to be a close one. It's going to be high scoring, hopefully, and I'm going to take 3 points against you, Ollie. Fingers crossed, mate.
Well, I mean, we usually end the podcast off, bantering a little bit about Classic, but I think that's probably a perfect place to end it on Draft because that's, the banter back and forth, obviously playing each other, but we'll have to see how that all goes next week. But as we said, that is the end of another podcast. Hope all your FPL dreams come true. The deadline is at 10 p.m. Melbourne time, which would be 11 a.m. over there in England. But take care, stay safe, hope your FPL dreams all come true, and we'll see you next week for a podcast. Bye now.